Sunday, you guys. You are listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN, and we are your new co-hosts, Jason Michael and Heather Powers, featuring Dr. Parthenia Grant. We are so excited to be here, and we'd love for you to check us out at divinelovetalk.com. You can also talk to us, mail us questions, and just interact with us at info@divinelovetalk.com.
There we go. We've now launched. We are now flying.
Yes.
We might have bumpy roads.
We have a little bit of butterflies.
Yes,
I think. Totally.
We do. There are butterflies. Well, hello, Heather Powers.
Hello, my love. Beloved Jason Michael Powers.
We are grateful to be here, and I would love to read a letter because we are co-hosting with our dear friend and dear sister, Dr. Parthenia Grant. Yeah. And she has sent us a letter. She wishes she could be here on the phone and in person, but she sent us a letter. She is en route to, she's at the Dallas airport right now.
Right?
She's boarding a flight right now at this moment. So I'm going to read a letter that she sent to us just moments ago. She says, "Hi, this is Dr. Parthenia Grant with Divine Love Talk on CRN, expressing my regret that my flight did not arrive in time for me to be there in person, nor on the phone to ask you to warmly welcome on board Jason Michael and Heather Powers as new co-hosts at Divine Love Talk. I'm in flight as today's new debut with them is airing. Jason Michael and Heather Powers will also be co-producing the shows with me, continuing to bring you the same level of quality you're accustomed to receiving here at Divine Love Talk. They share the same vision of the world as I do. They also bring with them a deeper dimension of love and integrity that is sorely lacking in couples today, one that represents a divine balance between the masculine and feminine. In fact, I asked them to come on board with me because of the work that they're doing with their brand new One Love, with their brand, One Love and Gratitude, to bring that missing level of balance to intimate relationships. Today's show will focus on a pressing topic on the minds of many of you who are wondering what to do in the shadow of the U.S. and North Korea posturing to go to war. Today they will focus the meaning of real power versus force and what each of us can do individually and collectively to rise above the old Piscean consciousness of war as a solution to anything. Michael Ferranti reminded us that we can bomb the world to pieces, but we cannot bomb it into peace. And I believe, in spite of what mainstream media may be selling you, most people actually want peace. War only profits the war machinery and the egos of the political pundits who promote it. Today we will shift our consciousness to a higher perspective on how you can bring peace to a world on the brink of war. As Dr. Parthenia tweeted last week, quote, "Nuclear war equals no winners plus nuclear winter." Please welcome Jason Michael and Heather Powers on board as they help you create a paradigm shift from one of competition and conflict to one of cooperation and better communication. I'll be back in Los Angeles next week to join my new hosts live on Divine Love Talk. Please check out the new website at divinelovetalk.com and send comments or questions to the new email at info@divinelovetalk.com.
Oh, bless you, Dr. Grant.
Wow.
You know what I feel, as you shared before we went on the air, first we have to totally thank our dear sister, Dr. Parthenia. We had the honor of being on the show a couple of times, almost 2 years ago, I think. And at that point, we really had a deep kinship right off the bat. Knew that at some point there was some kind of collaboration, but it's just incredible to see how this now moment has just occurred.
Magical, right?
Totally.
Miraculous. It's weird how that happens sometimes in our life.
Yep.
I mean, when we came on the show, and I remember when she called us in, and I said, "What's the name of your show? Divine Love Talk?"
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
That feels like a show that we would actually have created a long time ago. And here it
totally
is,
does.
2 years later. Life has presented us an opportunity to be here, and it is an honor. And I just want to echo what you said, babe, is that it is just the trust and to come into this new conversation. It seems like a new conversation. It's really an old conversation that love, as I always say, if you call my phone, and I'll probably end every show with this, is love is the most powerful force in the universe, and use it intelligently.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. You know, I think that as we have developed this conversation with Dr. Grant, it's been really fun to see how the legacy that she's created over these past 5 years, which is so in line with everything that we talk about, which is what you just said, love. The basis of everything is love. How do we find peace? It's love. And she's been doing it so intelligently. She's brought compelling conversations. She's brought ancient wisdom, but really practical solutions on how to apply these things to your life. And I'm excited as we partner with her. We tend to do things in trinities a lot. Yeah. And there's an energetic, it's really powerful when we come together in threes because we're able to bounce things off of each other in a new way. And so I know that as we bring the masculine and feminine perspective with her wisdom and years of experience just with people, it's going to be a really exciting journey to go on together. So.
I just heard a little whisper in my head. In the Trinity, we love we.
Yes. Thank you, Unity Grace.
In the Trinity, we love we. And it is going to be an amazing journey that's just, we belong to a spiritual community called the Global Truth Center, and we'll have various friends that are part of that community on this show at various times. But, there was an affirmation. It's kind of the monthly affirmation, and we read it today. We went out there and we sang, and today's affirmation is we leap into our new life. Right?
Hallelujah.
And that is what we're doing today. I want to say hello. We have our live community on Facebook joining us at this moment live. We've been, since October, we felt like, just prior to the election, we had just felt this calling that community really needed support. And we just started recording. We just started, let's just go live and we'll create a prayer field of hope, of inspiration, of activation, of remembrance of who we are, what we are, truly. Because we get lost in the Maya. We get lost in the illusion of fear, of struggle, of anxiety. And, I'm reminded, I would love us to, we have a mission statement. If you go to divinelovetalk.com, you'll see what our mission statement is. And as we would do every time we'd have a show, we would just read our intention, our mission statement. So would you read that?
I would love to. Our mission is to help awaken, inspire, activate, and elevate more love on the planet by helping people connect to and embody the source of love as their own true self, and to experience deeply connected and thriving relationships with all life through the awakening to one love. Divine Love Talk promotes personal responsibility for acquiring the knowledge necessary to balance one's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being by becoming the change one wishes to see in the world, since the inner and the outer work one does to become a sovereign, independent, critical thinker will simultaneously benefit the whole of humanity because we are all connected to each other through this glorious web of life that we share.
I take a breath on that just for a moment. Not a big breath, but just a blue breath. And so that is our intention. That's why we're here. This conversation is to really bring us to the awareness that there is a presence, there is a power for good in the universe, as Ernest Holmes would say, and you can use it. And then we say, in fact, you are it. You are the power that's creating your world. We are the power that is creating the world. And that's what brings us to this conversation of power versus force. Heather and I had just spent a beautiful week in the most gorgeous place on the planet, in my opinion, Mount Shasta.
So far.
So far, to this date.
Yeah.
And
we'll keep traveling to find out, right?
As we came down the mountain, kind of unplugged from the whole world, really, and then as we came down, we've got notifications that, as I call him, number 45, our president, AKA Mr. Trump,
card.
the Trump card. He made a declaration, and there was this kind of heating up. The war drum was starting to beat, and we were blown away, going, "Wow, we just came from this peaceful experience of community, of communion with the land, with other, strangers, family, people that we knew, and there was this kind of utopian feeling, and then coming down from the mountain into the valley of the shadow of death." You hear this impending doom that has really put the world in kind of a, oh my gosh, we're really on the possible brink of something that could cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, I feel like it's put everyone in a very defensive stance. as if we weren't already, teetering on that. But share the quote that you read from Trump.
Here's what I saw from, let's see if I can find that. It was, here we go. It was from, Trump said, North Korea best, now I won't do a Trump impersonation here, but North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. Trump said, and as I said, they will be met with the fire and fury and, frankly, power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
Something that you shared right before that, though, was something that he had declared when he first went into office, that his first order of business would be what?
He said his first order of business when he took the office was to modernize and anchor the nuclear arsenal. Right. So that we would establish, and though I won't have to use this power, but we will be the most powerful nation in the world.
Right. So this fostered the conversation that we felt like we would have, and is when we talked to Dr. Parthenia, knowing that this has been something that's been on her heart as she's been tweeting about it, as it is for all of us who are looking to find really viable solution to what's going on in our world. Powers versus force. What is it?
Right. We are the powers, and we're here to talk about power versus force. Then that's what came up, because there's an amazing book that I have loved for a long time in my studies to become a practitioner, healing practitioner, was a book called Power versus Force by David Hawkins, Dr. David R. Hawkins. And it just immediately, when I heard this quote from Trump, and I thought, that is just not true power. That is a false power. That is force. That is like when it reminds me immediately, right, when we're back to elementary school, when the big bully comes to you and goes, all right, meet me at the tetherball pole. We're going to have a fight. And everybody in the school is getting, oh my gosh, Jason and Michael are going to go fight. They're going to have a fight. Everyone gathers, and it's like this, it's bully tactics.
Right.
And this is an old story. I mean, we sat down with our son this week, and he watched this history of the world thing, this video, this fast-paced, all arcing of everything, and you see war after war after war after war after war after war. And that is not power.
No, it's not. And it was interesting to see in that whole evolution of the planet and the different wars that have always broken out, there's something about the East, the consciousness in the East, that has been able to for the most part, stay in a place of constant evolution, and knowing that there was a solution within ourselves, which is what we really want to talk about. So,
and we're going to be diving into that. I'm going to be reading a chapter from this book, Power versus Force. But really, here in the climate of where we are in this now, I felt like this would be one of the most important things that we can kind of lead off with.
Absolutely.
Because, Huey Lewis, did he write the power of love? Yeah. And we're going to talk about the power of divine love. We're going to dive into it and really not contend with the powers out there. We're going to bring it inside, because we know, as we talk about our mission statement, is to really, we're going to be the change. We're going to talk about how can we be the change that we wish to see in the world? How can we deal with these conditions that we're looking at that might be bringing up some fear? Well, I'm going to read something once again. It's out of the book Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, because there's truly a difference between power, what is true power, and what I believe that this power that Trump is talking about is not true power. It's just force.
Yeah, it's bully tactic.
Right. Yeah. And so Dr. Hawkins writes here, and I'll just read it straight out. He says, on examination, we'll see that power arises from meaning. It has to do with motive. It has to do with principle. Power is always associated with that which supports the significance of life itself. It appears to that part of human nature that we call noble, in contrast to force, which appeals to that which we call crass. Power appeals to what uplifts, dignifies, and ennobles. Force must always be justified, whereas power requires no justification. Force is associated with the partial, power with the whole. What's good for the whole? If we analyze the nature of force, it becomes readily apparent why it must always succumb to power. This is in accordance with one of the basic laws of physics, because force automatically creates counterforce. Its effect is limited by definition. We could say that force is a movement. It goes from here to there, or tries to, against opposition. Power, on the other hand, is still. It's like a standing field that doesn't move. Gravity itself, for instance, doesn't move against anything. Its power moves all objects within its field, but the gravity field itself does not move. Force always moves against something, whereas power doesn't move against anything at all. Force is incomplete and therefore has to be fed energy constantly. Power is total and complete in itself and requires nothing from outside. It makes no demands. It has no needs. Because force has an insatiable appetite. It constantly consumes. Power, in contrast, energizes, gives forth, supplies, and supports. Power gives life and energy. Force takes these away. We notice that power is associated with compassion and makes us feel positively about ourselves. Force is associated with judgment and makes us feel poorly about ourselves. Force always creates counterforce. Its effect is to polarize rather than unify. Polarization always implies conflict. Its cost, therefore, is always high. Because force incites polarization, it inevitably produces a win-lose dichotomy. And because somebody always loses, enemies are created. Constantly faced with enemies, force requires constant defense. Defensiveness is invariably costly, whether in the marketplace, politics, or international affairs. And I leave it with this last piece right here.
So good.
Simply stated, powerful attractor patterns make us go strong, and weak patterns make us go weak. Some ideas are so weakening that merely holding them in mind hinders. Now I'm going to go back up. For our purposes, it's really only necessary to recognize that power is what makes you go strong, while force makes you go weak. Love, compassion, and forgiveness, which may be mistakenly thought of as submissive by some, are in fact profoundly empowering. Revenge, judgmentalism, and condemnation, on the other hand, inevitably make you go weak. Therefore, regardless of moral righteousness, it's a simple clinical fact that in the long run, the weak cannot prevail against the strong. That which is weak falls of its own accord.
Oh, it's so good. I see that picture of the warrior. The most powerful stance of a warrior is to bow before his enemy. And that doesn't mean to give in and allow the enemy to attack. But there is something, I remember back in our, scriptural days, the idea of a gentle answer will always turn away wrath. There's something about it that when we are able to just let go of the fight altogether, there's something that emerges that we can't see, as opposed to us constantly resisting what is, threatening or opposing us.
And I'm reminded by one of my first, I'll call him my first guru, my first spiritual teacher, which was besides Yoda.
Yay, Yoda.
Was Bruce Lee, and he said, be like water, my friends. Water is one of the most powerful forces in the planet. We are mostly water. Water doesn't press and force itself. It is powerful. It creates the Grand Canyon. It creates life in the womb. We can't go without it. So we were just reading about just the power versus force and really what is, and it's all in light of what we're talking about here with this threat that there's a buzz about it. I mean, we don't really pay attention to mainstream news. Years ago, we just said, disengage from the fear matrix and plug into the divine love matrix.
Right. It was interesting because as we were driving down the mountain from Shasta, I feel like it's like the perfect picture. We were up on the mountain, totally unplugged, totally in our joy, having a beautiful experience, not only with Soul Family, but with the land. And as we descend, like you said, into the valley, here we start getting these messages. And one thing that we're really sure about in our own guided journey of life is that we really get what we need to know when we need to know it. And so we always go on that if we need to know something about something that's coming down the pike, we're going to know. And it came, and it was amazing how it, this is such an out-picturing of what's going on in our own consciousness. And we always want to bring this back to a personal journey, because we can't have peace outside and we can't have peace in the world if we're not doing the work to have peace in our own heart. And I love that Dr. Parthenia put that in our mission statement. We are here to become the change that we want to see. And as we do that, we begin to carry the medicine of peace to all those around us, and it activates and inspires people to become the peace. And so the ripple effect, that's why we're having this conversation.
And this is a paradigm shift. I mean, this truly is. I mean, we've been trained to think that might is right.
Right.
That force, in the Star Wars trilogy and all that is, the force is powerful, but this is a different kind of force, because the true force of the Jedi is power, true power, which is love. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. And when we surrender to that, then we start seeing a change. But it's definitely not easy to do. There's a new thought, there's a new way of thinking, there's a new way of being. But going back to it, I mean, I truly believe, I was just tuning into this myself, Trump, as we call him, the Trump card.
Yeah.
I believe he is in the right, he's playing his perfect role.
He really is.
In the script of all time.
He really
I believe
is.
he's calling us to go, look, this doesn't work anymore. This way of living is forceful, as a forceful nation. It's not going to produce what we want it to produce. And we have to rise as a true, powerful nation. And how do we do that as a powerful nation? It's as the ancient, the samurai warriors, right?
Yep.
We would just bend our neck and say, look, death is but an illusion. I'm not afraid of you.
Yes. I take this out even into our personal relationship. We're the outpicturing of what's happening in our country and the world is no different than what happens in our relationships with each other. And our testing ground of this relationship has really brought this concept home, is that when we are able to surrender in our sovereignty, because in our own personal sovereignty, when we feel in our own secure in our own strength, we are able to surrender because we are not engaged in the drama of something else that's happening outside of us. We have that power to see things from a higher perspective. And so one of the things that we teach in our Awakening Love Within course is this very thing, that when we can make it a practice to come back to our center of our own personal sovereignty and take responsibility for what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what our emotions are, we're not moved. And that way we can surrender in a moment and allow something else to come through that could be a solution that neither one of us could think in the moment when we're resisting each other and trying to engage a solution with our minds.
Right. And that's really what we want to bring this last half of the show with. It's like, okay, we're not going to contend with Trump. We're not here to change Trump.
Yeah.
We're not. That's an insane idea.
We're going to bless him.
We bless him.
Absolutely.
We thank him. Thank you. Number 45.
Yeah.
That equals 9. That means completion. We're coming to a completion. We're going to wrap this up. Not this segment, but this idea that force is going to do what we do. It's not going to do what we want it to do.
Right.
It's going to create enemies. It's going to create resentment, as it has for a long time.
So we've got a few ways of just kind of engaging a peaceful practice in our life, just some practical tools. And one of those tools that we find on a regular basis is learning to accept things as they are. Because I think so much of our tendency is to look at what's going on in the world, and we begin to, get on all these petitions. We go out and rally, and not that there's anything wrong with any of that, but sometimes we allow that to become our engagement in resistance rather than looking within and going, okay, so if this is what's showing up in my world, where is this resistance going on within me? Where is my own internal conflict? And this is the dance we do daily. When we're in conflict with each other, the only reason we are is because one of us or both of us is in conflict internally.
Right. And that's, again, we're bringing it home to union. I mean, we're so grateful to be on the show, bringing the balance, because the war outside is because of the war within.
Yeah.
And if there is a wrestling going on consistently with our own masculine, feminine presence within. Mm-hmm. How do we assert and how do we lay back? When do we give? When do we receive? Right. When do we just quiet? And when do we speak? When do we create? When do we extend it? So it's a beautiful. And this is what we do in our work, and this is the kind of work that we do with our clients, is to navigate these waters, but it's not navigating and controlling the other. Mm-hmm. If I'm unsettled, if I'm feeling insecure, mm-hmm. then I'm more prone to be a tyrant, I'm more prone to be controlling, mm-hmm. I'm more prone to be loud and angry because I'm not settled. Yeah. But when I'm settled and I'm secure in the presence of love itself, mm-hmm. I can allow... Yeah. I trust, mm-hmm. I have faith, and I can extend love. Mm-hmm. But when I'm not settled in that centered space, then I'm prone to move the furniture in the outside because I'm insecure.
Yeah.
So accepting, in the 12-step program, they talk about acceptance is the answer to all my problems today.
And it's the truth.
Whenever I'm upset, it's because some person, place, or situation, some nation is not doing what I want them to do, mm-hmm. or I expect them to be. Mm-hmm. And expectations are seeds to resentment.
Yeah.
If we're not accepting life on life's terms, we're going to be more prone to be forceful.
Right. So I would say acceptance is the courage to take responsibility for what's going on in your own emotions, mm-hmm. your own feelings. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's not easy, and it requires just being alone with yourself to really know what's going on inside of there. But to look at it all with acceptance and not feel like you have to shift any of it immediately.
Yeah. I had a sponsor in my program. He said, if you're feeling uncomfortable, just be comfortable with that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to change it now. We want to fix it. Mm-hmm. We want to change it, change mm-hmm. them, change her, change him. But if we can just accept them and love them as they are.
Yeah.
And then watch what's going to happen. Love's going to have a way. Because mm-hmm. love always wins.
It does. I think the second thing that would be really expanding our ability to hold peace is just being mindful, present in the moment. We talked to somebody today, this beautiful woman who was so, I experienced more focused presence from her than I think we do a lot of people. But she was talking about how her awareness and her ability to see from such a higher perspective has come just from purely a discipline of being incredibly mindful and knowing that there is no other moment than now. So everything that you're seeing now, everything that you're experiencing right now is a gift. No matter how crazy it might seem, as we're looking at the world going, okay, what is the gift?
You say everything is a gift that you are seeing. And guess what, creators, divine lovers?
You are powerful.
It is your creation. It is your creation. This is our creation. Mm-hmm. Is it real? It's our creation. Woo! I think Oingo Boingo did that. As a DJ, I've got always a disease. I got like songs for every phrase.
You're a living jukebox. That's what you are.
I am a living jukebox. But this is our creation. And once I remember seeing The Secret many, many years ago and going, you know what? It's not about getting the car and the house and the fine girl. It's really going, wait a second. My world is being created by my thoughts.
Yeah.
If you don't like the world you're creating, if you don't like the world you're seeing, then think a new thought. Let's collectively think a new thought. Let's think, again, let's go back to what is more powerful, fear and bullying or threatening, or true love and surrender to love.
Mm-hmm. I go back to being on the mountain in Shasta. It felt like such an incredible contrast because here we can choose in any moment to do things, to engage in activities that bring us joy, that make us feel that peace, blissful, excited, in our passion. And it gives us a whole nother mindset. And then when we descend into the valley of the things that we need to face, that we're needing courage to change those things that we're not liking, when we come from the mountain perspective, we're able to influence experience the valley situations in a whole new way. And we have new ideas that we didn't think. The repetitive thoughts, what are they? 60,000 repetitive thoughts going over and over again.
Yeah, 60,000 thoughts. Dr. Wayne Dyer, I remember hearing that. He said you have roughly 60,000 thoughts a day. Generally, they're the same addictive thoughts you had yesterday and the day before and the day before, and you keep in the rut and you're thinking the same thoughts. Now, this is science. You create neural pathways in your brain, and they're addictive. You know, one of our favorite books, and we'll talk more about that, is the Gene Keys. And Gene Key 24 has the Gene Keys. We won't explain too much of it, but it talks about addictive thinking. That most of us are in addictive thinking. We're in reactive thinking.
Right.
You know, Trump's reaction to Trump's response to North Korea is reactive thinking. We've been doing this as a nation for too long. Let's learn our lesson. This doesn't work.
Yeah.
This doesn't produce the results that we want to see. This is clearly insanity.
It is.
Doing the same thing, expecting some different result. We're not going to get a result that we want. Everyone loses in this.
Right.
Right? So let's think a new thought. And let's observe our thoughts. What am I thinking when I'm in my own mind? You know, you can guard your mind. You can watch your thoughts.
Something else that just, I think for both of us probably is magnified coming from Mount Shasta. Anywhere that you are in nature, you can get away from every bit of information that is coming in, every frequency, every wave and particle that is influencing, that is not organic. And it's so important to do that, to come back to a natural balance and harmony with nature, because immediately what happens is we become not only put back in balance with our own nature, but we're put back in balance with the harmony with other people, because the conflict, there's something about nature that literally just dissolves conflict. It's like it almost can't exist in nature, you know? All of these other ideas that are infiltrating our minds just kind of go away.
Right. And yes, I mean, that's where we try to get out in nature as often as possible. So definitely get still, be still and know, be still and know, be still and know, be still and know that I am, that there's a presence within you that knows how to give you the solutions to what you're looking for. You know, one of the other things that we love is meditation. You know, this is a way to find that still small voice within, is get quiet. You know, find that peaceful place, limit the distractions. You know, just close your eyes. We're not going to meditate here live because that would be a pregnant pause on video. You know, sometimes on our live feed we go into a meditation, but, you know, meditation has been a game changer for our life.
It really has. I want to talk a minute about meditation, because I know that for many people it's a scary concept. It can be frustrating, because a lot of times when you begin to do it, you feel like you're not doing it right. And there's no rules per se. And so there's all these guided meditations and ideas of how to do it. And I think from our heart to yours, first of all, when we say meditation, there is no right or wrong way to do it. And maybe we can talk just a little bit more about going into the silence. I want to guide you to a dear friend of ours, Kyle Cease, if you haven't tuned into him, because he talks extensively about just going into the quiet, and how going into the quiet and facing yourself will change you so radically from the inside out. It's not adopting a new religious practice or a new religious idea. It's just going into the quiet, so that the true nature of who you are, the true self that you were meant here to be, can emerge from all of the arguments and all the riffraff that we often entertain in those repetitive thoughts.
There is nothing scary about meditation. It's not, you know, the East started this and brought it over to the West, but we in the West would benefit from just getting still and getting quiet and just calming our mind, letting our heartbeat just kind of get to a nice rhythm, you know. And ultimately what we're doing, I mean, this is all about, meditation will raise your frequency. And when you raise your frequency, something starts to happen in a magical, mysterious way. One of the other things we talk about, one of the practicals, we're giving practical steps on how to access true power, you know, is to just try to visualize how would you like your life to look like? Use that divine imagination. You've been given an imagination to use.
Yes.
It's yours. You can use it. Don't lose it.
I love it. We, again, Kyle Cease. If you haven't tuned into Kyle Cease, definitely go to kylecease.com. He has amazing, amazing tools. But one of the things that he has helped groups adopt is they call it Kylegoing. And basically all this is going into 5 years, 10 years ahead in your life and really describing where it is you see yourself, where you want your life to be. And then work your way back how you got there.
Man, this song that Heather's going to do, I remember when you first did this. We were in probably a squabble of some sort in a season of arguing or something, and I remember I immediately just wept. I felt like this song was created for me, the warrior, the guardian inside of me that just needed to put down the sword and pick up the rose. And this song makes me cry every time, so...
Come to the temple, bathe in the presence of love. Let go of the warring, lay down your sword. You've had enough. I know you're weary, the battle has taken its toll. Illusion is shattering, the veil is rent. You're whole. So come to the fire, lay down the shame of the past. The blaze purifying, revealing your gold at last. For you hold the keys now, unlocking your shackles and chains. No longer a prisoner, you are now free and reclaimed. You're reclaimed. Surrender to my love and trust that you're enough.
Yes, we are enough. Thank you, love. There's more to that song. We are running out of time. This hour has gone by so fast.
It really
I'm blown
has.
away.
Totally. We were worried about, are we going to have enough to talk about?
Yeah. The eagle has flown.
good.
The eagle hasn't landed. The eagle has flown. The condor has flown.
Yes.
And there's so much we are looking forward to being on this adventure with you all. And I lovingly call you the divine lovers. You know, that you are with us on this journey. Stay with us. We have an amazing journey ahead. As I keep hearing Spirit, my inner voice saying, the best is yet to come. Truly. I know that the world may seem a little scary and uncertain, but what I'm certain of is love is the most powerful force in the universe, and we can use it intelligently, consciously. We don't have to be forceful in our life. We don't have to manipulate. We don't have to compete with each other. We don't have to conquer each other. We get to cooperate with each other, communicate with each other.
We do. We're co-creating this together, and the more of us that understand this, we really do make a shift in the whole story. We're writing a new story, a love story together.
One of my favorite mentors says, one alone of consciousness constitutes the majority. And we're here, just to anchor more divine love. So we thank you. You've been listening to Divine Love Talk on CRN. We are your new co-hosts, Jason Michael and Heather Powers, featuring Dr. Parthenia Grant. We'll be live in the studio next week talking about more divine love and how it can have just an amazing impact in your life.
And also you can find us on oneloveandgratitude.com for our programs. We have a program called Awakening Love Within, and we will love to see you there. Sign up for our newsletter, and we look forward to getting to know all of you.